Okay, hello everyone. For anyone who doesn't know me, I'm the front-end lead for LocalGov Drupal, and I run an agency called The Confident, which is a LocalGov Drupal only focused agency. So I'm not doing work with anything else except LocalGov Drupal. I'm not as prepared as I wanted to be for this. I had a little accident the weekend where I tore a calf muscle off my leg, which I can promise you is as sore as it might sound. So I'm a little bit laid up over the weekend. So this is where I'm expecting you all to click that react button and give you hugs and uh, love hearts and things, or not love hearts, sympathy hearts. Let's see. I'm going to share my screen. Nicole there we go. That's more like it. We're getting into the spirit of the local GovTrooper community. Nicole in Royal Borough of Greenwich gave a very good presentation a couple of months ago, maybe 6 months ago, 8 months ago, about Workspaces and how they use it for their migration from Jadu, I believe it was, to LocalGov Drupal. So I'm not going to go into how to use Workspaces itself. So we'll kind of go. Is my screen sharing now? Yeah, I just got to ask for some permission for a minute. Yeah. Okay. So I'm going to look more kind of advanced uses of Workspaces, because there was a few things that popped up in Nicole's presentation about things they hadn't solved, or things that kind of trip people up a little bit. And I think most of those are solvable now. So I'm going to try to kind of go through those kind of things. So hang on, Zoom here is in my way, of course. Lead floating control panel. Okay. I wrote a blog post, I don't know when it was, but a month ago, 15th of December, solving common Drupal workspaces problems for content editors. So this is basically, I looked at Nicole's presentation, and 5 things kind of showed up as being the main issues. Let me just make this bigger for a second. As being the main issues were that everything needs to be published at the same time. So you got things in our workspace, and you need to put that full workspace live at the same time. I think we have a way around that now. It's easy to work in the wrong environment without realizing it. So you think you're in the environment workspace, you think you're putting a change to the home page, and it's going to be sorry, you think you're in the live workspace on the website. You want to change something on the homepage, but you're actually in the environment workspace and you haven't realized it. That's a bit of I suppose, human error that will say one thing, it's your own fault for being in the wrong place. But we do have a nice little feature now that will at least alert you to say that, hey, you're in a workspace and you sure this is where you're supposed to be before you change some content. If you change some content, this one is related. If you change some content and you're in a workspace, that content gets locked. So if you've changed something on the homepage, you can't change the homepage then unless you change inside a workspace. And then the idea is that you need to put that workspace live. Well, again, we've got a workaround for that now as well. Uploading documents needs to be done in the live site. I think that's still true. I think you need to upload them there so they can be shared across all the workspaces. And the last one was only people who have access to the CMS, so people who have a user account that can log into the workspace, into the website, and have the permission to view the workspace, are able to view it. So we've got a very good workaround for that now as well. So if you need to send a preview of your workspace before it's published to some stakeholders, we can do that. So let's have a quick look at what is what. Oh, hang on. Sorry. Okay. You can read that blog post and look at that video then in your own time. So here's a standard LocalGov Drupal installation with just the demo content module installed. It looks a little bit different to our demo website. Reason being, I've been working on a new design. So I'm hoping the next month or so we'll have a nice new design for the demo site. That's here's a preview for you. So what we're going to do then is install the Workspaces module. And Workspaces, here it goes. This will install, and this is just the Workspaces module that comes with Drupal core, and there's no extra features added. And it can be a little bit cumbersome, I think. So if we click on, we've got this little indicator here, so we're in the live environment. So if we change something here, it'll be affected on the live website, and anybody who looks at our website will be able to see it. But we can click here to change our workspace to different workspaces, and we get this gloriously ugly bar here at the top with one workspace called Stage. So there's 2 things I would do here. One is make this bar a little bit prettier, let's say. So we might enjoy using the Workspaces module. But number two, then delete the staging workspace, because that could just become a dumping ground for God knows what's going to go into it. And we create workspaces that we think we'll need. So let's come back to our extend page here. We're going to install a new module, and the new module is Workspaces Extras. You can find that on drupal.org. It's under the namespace WSE, Workspaces Extras. And what this is these are things for workspaces that we hope to be available in Drupal core at some stage, but we're developing here outside of Drupal core just because we can move a bit faster. You can see the different sub-modules here that are available in it, and we'll just switch on two of them now. So if I look for workspaces, I'm going to turn on Workspaces Extras. So this is the default or kind of a base module for workspaces that all the other things use. And I'm also going to turn on Workspaces Preview. And this is what will give us a preview link, so our stakeholders can have a look at the workspace without needing to log into the website. But people without that preview link won't be able to. There is another one here, Workspaces menu. It broke on me earlier on when I tried to install it, but it's a very good module where in a new workspace, you might decide that we also need to change some menu items. So we're going to have a new service, and we want that service in the menu. By default, you can't change menu items in workspaces. So Workspaces menu will allow you to do that. You can add, edit, and remove workspaces that will go live when you publish the workspace. So for now, just two modules, Workspace Extras and Workspaces Preview. I'll click on install here. Okay, now if I come to my workflow workspaces tab and click on settings, we can now turn on the simplified workspace switcher in the toolbar. So I'll switch that on, click save. And now when I click this live button earlier on, we got that, what I call the glorious ugly banner at the top. I click that now, we get this nice little pop up instead. So we can change to whatever workspace we want to from here. We're now in the stage workspace. We go back to the live workspace, and we can view all of our workspaces, and we can manage workspaces. So the first thing I'm going to do is with the stage workspace, I'm going to delete it, because I don't like having dumping grounds, because God knows what's going to go into it, and then it'll be a nightmare to get things out of that when we want to publish it. So let's add maybe a couple of workspaces. So we might want to have a new workspace called, we'll say, licensing. And what's this parent here? I don't like this as well. This is going to trip people up eventually. The parent is that you can have workspaces inside workspaces. Now, I think it's going to get very, very tricky, and I think it's going to cause a lot of bugs that you're trying to publish some things and you're not sure is it a sub workspace or an actual workspace. So I'm going to switch that off in a moment. So for now, I'm going to just create a licensing workspace and save it. Going to come back to my workspaces settings, and I'm going to come down here to the bottom and say disable sub workspaces. Now you all know that's there. You can ask someone to switch back on if you want. I prefer people to not know it was there in the first place, and they'll probably never ask for it. Now if I add another workspace, you see we get this much easier form now. So we've got another one. We're going to call this one here environment, and we'll save that. Okay. With this much now, we can click on our live button near the top, and we can decide let's do something in the licensing workspace. So I've clicked on that. This has gone orange, so now I know I'm in the licensing workspace. Although, if I'm just looking at the main website itself, the orange is gone. Now I don't know where I am, and this is one of those things that we saw people get stuck with back here. The preview is gone from me. It's hard to know what workspace you're actually in. I can't remember what page I was on now. Here, okay. So inside licensing, we've currently got no changes whatsoever. So the licensing department, let's say, is the exact same now as the live website. Let's add some content. So I'm going to add a service landing page. I'll say that this is the licensing landing page, so for the licensing service. I'm going to say that this is published. I'm not going to fill out any of the other fields because we all know how to do that. And I'm going to click save. This is going to break. Watch this. Okay, we've got an error here. So the review date must be saved in what Drupal calls the default workspace, what we call the live workspace. So that's one thing that has tripped us up a few times. We've been using this very heavily in Colchester City Council, that some things need to be saved in the live workspace. With the review date, hopefully I get a fix for it that we can give out to everybody else. But in the short term, if this happens, we can come back to our page and just switch off the content reviewed button here. And if I save that now, this should be fine. Okay, so now we've got a licensing page. This is our service landing page inside our licensing workspace. Let's also add in content, a service sub landing page. And that's going to have a parent of licensing. And this is going to be environmental licenses, we call this. We'll set it to published, and we'll remember to switch off the content reviewed and save it. Okay, I'm going to add one more. Don't worry, I won't spend too long going through adding content, but there's a reason for this. And I'm going to create a service page, and this is going to have a parent of environmental licenses, and this is going to be fishing licenses. Okay, let's put in some content here, and here are the required fields. Set this to published and switch off content reviewed. We can switch back on content reviewed once we actually publish the workspace. And save. Okay, so I've got my fishing license. It's got its parent of environmental licenses. Let me edit this and set a child page. Okay. So fishing license, that looks good. And then this has a parent of licensing. And I just want to set my sub landing page as its child. And save. Okay, now if we look at our licensing workspace, or refresh this page here, we can see what has changed here. So what's changed here is we've created a service landing page called licensing. We've created a sub landing page called environmental licenses, and we've created a service page called fishing license. We've added 3 URLs, and then if we add in any more content, that will all show up here. The thing that happens then is if I'm looking at the licensing page here, and I want to show this to my stakeholders or other people outside of the licensing department, but maybe don't have they don't have an account on our website. Let's see what happens. If I come to a private browser, I get a 404, that's page not found. Same is going to happen if I come to environmental licenses, and the same is going to happen if I come to fishing licenses. Now, this is good because we want to be able to create things in workspaces, and we don't want anyone to see them. See this content until it's ready to go live. So what we can do is we come back to our workspace. Let me close down some of these tabs. I don't like keeping everything open. Okay. We come back to our licensing workspace, manage this workspace, and we've got this preview link item here. Now, this is beside preview link here. The reason being, this second preview link, this is what we use for previewing individual page content that we already know about. And I guess it's unfortunate that we happen to use the same menu name for preview link as what the Workspace Extras preview link module is using for its preview link. So I think we could maybe change this to Workspace preview link and change this to content preview link or something like that. But for now, I happen to know that this is the one I want to use, the first one. And the preview link will last for 8 hours. And let's see, I can generate this. Okay, now I can click this button here to copy it. That's copied. Now if I come to my logged out version, so again, this is one of our stakeholders wants to look at our website, and we give them that preview link. Oh, to get access to it, hang on 1 second. I need to set a quick permission. Permissions. Workspace. Can access preview links. There you go. Okay, now they shouldn't get an access tonight. Get the homepage. Okay, and if I refresh my licensing page here now we can see the licensing page. And again, remember, we're not logged into the website, so this is very nice. And it shows us the whole workspace, not just this particular page. So that was why I was creating this service page, service sub landing page, and service page, so we could see the hierarchy. So this is the service landing page, licensing landing page, and we can click through to the environmental licenses sub landing page, and we can click through to the fishing license service page. I think that's pretty nice. If we inspect here, and I guess don't worry about this bit here, but what this does is it stores a cookie here, and that cookie will last for 8 hours. So after 8 hours, you won't be able to view this anymore. So I'm going to delete that. If you wanted to view it for longer, we can come to our workspaces, our settings, and our preview link settings, and change this from 8 hours to maybe 30 days and save. And it's as easy as that. I think that's probably more correct for something like counts, because I know we move a bit slow when we've got a lot of content and a lot of stakeholders. You might want to up this to 2 weeks or 1 month or whatever it is. Let's see, was that? Yeah, okay. So when we're that far, if I come back to my logged out version and go to license, okay, so this should be now page not found. Yeah. Now let's say we where are we going to go? We're going to workspaces list, and we're going to come back to licensing. And let's say we want to well, let's look at, we'll publish the workspace in a moment. Let's look at, say we change something in the homepage. So remember, we're in the licensing department here, and I'm on the homepage, and I'm going to change, say, this photo by Ben Clayton to photo by Mark Conroy. So I'll click edit, and photo by Mark Conroy for LocalGov Drupal. Okay, and I'll save this. So this looks nice. This is correct. Let's come to my logged out version of the website. Go to the homepage, and oh, this says Ben Clayton. How come? Well, we know it's because I was inside a workspace, and that workspace hasn't been published yet. So the simple fix we would expect should be, let's go to the live version of our website. And presumably now, if I'm in the live version of the website and I click edit, I can just edit this and put that live. And oh no, look what's happened. The content is being edited in the licensing section. As a result, your changes can't be saved. So what am I going to do? Let's go back to our licensing section. And now we can edit this content, but it's still inside the licensing section. How do I get it out of here? So first thing we might do is we can place a block on the page, and I'm going to place this into the content top region. So it'll go above the main content of the page. And in Workspace Extras, we've got a block called Switch to Live. Let's turn that off and save that. And save. Okay, now if I come to my home page, before I get to edit this page, I'll see this warning here. You're reviewing the licensing workspace. Do you want to switch to the live version? So it doesn't stop us from editing inside a workspace, but it does give us this little notice that we might need to remind ourselves that we're actually in a workspace and not working on the live version, or we might realize that, oh, we're in the licensing workspace. I'm supposed to be in the environment workspace. And so you place that block wherever you want. It might be better to place it up in the header or something like that, you see it across the top as a banner. So that's one thing. But the other thing then, since we've actually changed the content in the licensing workspace and we wanted it to be live, let's have a look at licensing, manage the workspace. So this is the page here, LocalGov Drupal demo. This is our homepage. What can we do? We can come here and we can discard the changes, but maybe we've done lots and lots of work and we don't want to discard them all and have to restart again. So one handy thing I think we can do is we come to Workspaces and we add a new one. And let's call this one here Live Fix or Live Temp or something like that. So this is going to be, the workspace we're going to use for fixing our live issue. And I'm going to save that. Then I come back to my licensing workspace and the piece of content, LocalGov Drupal demo, I'm going to come over here and say, move this to a different workspace. So it's not in the licensing workspace anymore. It's now in the live fix workspace. Okay. And then so you see it's been moved from here now back to having just my licensing, environmental licenses and fishing license. Now if I change to my live fix workspace, live fix is now active. So that's where I want to be. And I want to manage this workspace. So I can see the only thing that's in this workspace now is the LocalGov Drupal demo. That's the homepage content that's changed. So now we can come here and say, let's publish this. So now we're not publishing the whole of the licensing section. We're just publishing this one page that got into the licensing section by accident. And we get this option here then. I think this is part of Workspace Extras as well, which is clone the workspace into a new draft after you publish it. So say, for example, this was the licensing workspace, and we decided, yeah, let's publish this now. You can publish it and then delete the workspace, so everything just goes live and the workspace is gone. Or you can publish it and clone the workspace into a new one, so it will create another workspace called licensing. So you might put in phase 1 of licensing live, and you might want to, when this goes live, automatically create another workspace called licensing and leave it empty. So we can continue on. So in this case, we don't want to create a new workspace. We just want to push this one item to live. If I click that there, you can see actually there now the workspace is deleted. So we're back to just environment and licensing. And if I refresh over here, it should now say Mark Conroy for LocalGov Drupal. Okay. And then the licensing section itself, if we're happy with everything, we can publish the whole thing in one go. And let's say we will clone the workspace details into a new draft workspace, just because we want to have licensing version 2 when we put this section live. So I'll publish these items. And you can see now licensing stays here. But inside this, there's nothing. So it just creates another workspace that's blank, ready for us to do phase 2 of licensing or environment or whatever. And now I should be able to look at licensing here without having to use the preview link. There we go. So this section now has all gone live. Just want to check my notes. Was that everything I was going through, or was there another bit? Yeah, I think that was about it for the kind of more advanced items. If anyone has any questions, I'm happy to answer them. We have been using this fairly heavily in Colchester City Council. I think it's been working very well, although we have had a couple of issues with like that review link needing to be saved in the live workspace. And specifically what's been happening to us a lot is we have a broken link checker installed, and that needs to be need to be saved in the live workspace. So we wrote a small module to disable link checker if you're inside a workspace and only work in the live workspace. And it's now working about maybe 90% of the time. We still do get a few little issues with it. So we'll try to get it sorted eventually. I can't see any hands up, or I can't see any questions.
It's okay, Mark, I can do it. So
yeah,
well, I can tell you, obviously I can't answer the questions. So there's a couple that are in the chat that I'll do first. The first one's from David. For the uninitiated here, me in brackets, are workspaces virtual as opposed to separate environments which we can work with at Croydon?
They're virtual in the sense that they're within your live website. You don't need a separate installation of LocalGov Drupal.
Right. Okay. Let me just clarify. It wasn't that we can work with. We currently work with. So we tend to build. Although we've got drafts on the publishing site, we've also got non-publishing, which is where we kind of do little bits of experimental stuff or build larger bits of content, to which we can then show the service users. But then, of course, we've got to replicate it on the publishing site. So does that actually what? Because I'm kind of coming in to the Hadron Collider after it's been built and tested, and you're discussing Hadron Collider 2, so I'm a bit lost. That's all.
David, I would suggest have a look at the presentation from Greenwich that we did for kind of the initial. Here's Workspaces, because mine is a bit more of an add-on to kind of more advanced version of that. But what you should be able to do would be that you would create all that content inside a workspace, and you can share those URLs with your stakeholders, and everyone can say whether it's okay or not. You don't need to recreate that then on your live website. You just publish that workspace and it automatically goes live because the workspace is inside the live website.
Right, gotcha. That's kind of what I thought it was, yeah.
Yeah, you published a whole workspace as opposed to publish an individual piece of content.
Cool. Okay, that's good to know. Thank you.
Thanks very much. Next question is from Sam. If you're making updates to lots of already published pages and they're in drafts in a workspace, does sending the preview link mean the stakeholder will see the draft changes? I think the answer is yes, but Mark?
I think the answer is no. I would presume the same as anyone clicking on your website will see the published version of your website, not the draft version of the content. That would be my expectation, unless we have a way with the preview link to show latest draft rather than published version. I'd have to look into that.
Maybe Sam, do you mean the published version on the stage rather than live, or do you mean?
No, hello, sorry. Yeah, and I was speaking to Mark on Slack about it the other day as well, and I feel like I maybe haven't fully understood this, so I'm sorry. But
No, it's great.
We were thinking about using this potentially for editing, auditing basically existing content. So it would like whether it could be used to, like at the moment, I've got to edit dozens and dozens of pages in one section of the site to improve them, saving them all in drafts. And at the moment, we're kind of sending previews in a slightly clunky way. And I was wondering whether this could be used for sending the preview of changes to like pages that have been published but are in drafts, as opposed to like it sounds like it's really useful for publishing new sections, new content, like new pages. But if you have already published pages and you want to make a large number of changes across a large number of pages, I was wondering if you can use it for that.
I would think, Sam, this sounds like a perfect use case for that, but maybe I wouldn't put them into draft in the workspace. I'd have them published in the workspace because, again, nobody can see what's in the workspace.
Well, I think that's where I'm getting confused, because I thought that when you published it in the workspace, it was just published to your live site. And
no. When it's published in the workspace, it's published only inside that workspace. It's when you publish their workspace itself that all the things that are published in it's kind of a second step.
I think that's where I was getting confused partly then.
Yeah, I think what you're suggesting would be a very good use case for it. And maybe if you got say 60 different pages that you've edited and published inside the workspace, so not available to live yet, but only in the workspace.
Yeah.
And if 20 of those get verified, this one, they're okay to go live. Then you could do what I was showing you a minute ago, like when you edited the homepage by accident, create a live, pre-live or something workspace, and send those 20 pages into that pre-live one, and then publish that pre-live workspace. And you still got the other 40 now in your published inside a workspace, but not published inside the live website state.
And is that what you'd also do if, for example, if we were editing like 40 pages within the housing section, for example, and then somebody, a stakeholder has sent us an urgent request to change a page within the housing, and that page is one of the ones that's published in a workspace. My understanding is that that would lock that page on the live site for new edits, but would you instead, you'd make a sort of separate workspace? Just that one page.
That might be a little bit cumbersome. That is where you'd have to create a new workspace, send that edited version to that, revert your editor.
You'd have to like save your draft somewhere, make the current
and then send it, then create a new version of it back in the workspace again.
Okay.
It works. That's next month's advanced workspace.
Okay. Well, it's kind of like a copy paste job, so it's not too complicated, but it's just a few extra steps. Yeah. Thank you. I think that was all of my. I think I understand a bit more. Thank you.
Very welcome.
Thanks, Sam. Nicole.
Yes. Hello.
Hello, Nicole.
Hi. Thank you so much for the session. It is so good to see that all of the issues we had have been addressed.
Me and Nicole are playing Workspaces tennis here at the minute.
Yeah, honestly, it would have saved us so much panic last year if some of these already existed, but it's good that it's here now. Sam actually asked basically like a very similar question I had. So I noticed that you had that little discard changes option. So when you select that, does that revert the page out of? It doesn't revert the page out of the workspace. It just discards the changes that you made while it was in the workspace.
Well, the change that you have made is you put it into a workspace, basically. So yeah, it does. It discards changes and takes it back out and puts it back into the live workspace.
Oh, okay.
So it goes back to where it was. And there's a checkbox as well when you say discard that says, do you also want to discard any dependencies? So if part of the change you made with that was adding new images or was adding other pages that were attached to it, they'll all get discarded too, as far as I know.
Yep. Yeah,
which
that's all right.
maybe not what you want.
Well, yeah, it depends, I guess. If
Yeah.
the changes that they want to make were to the original page rather than to the updated page that was in the workspace.
Exactly, yeah.
So, yeah, okay. No, that sounds really good.
Thank you.
I think that was all of my questions, really. Yeah, no, this just looks really good. Thank you.
Question from, thank you, Nicole. Sorry, a question from Fares. Does Workspaces support workflows?
Do you mean kind of Workspace itself being drafted or published, or do we mean does it support workflows for the content inside the workspace?
Fares.
Yes, if we already have an existing workflow on our website, does it automatically, like from one content moving from one state to another, does it automatically get applied to the
Yeah, as far as I know, like you saw when I was doing my initial edit, when something broke because of the review date toggle, on each page I created, you might have seen I switched it from draft into published. So that system works out. The workflow, content moderation works. With us in Colchester, I've been saying everything you're creating, just set it to published because everything is in draft by virtue of the fact that it's in the workspace. So I don't see. Maybe there is, but I don't exactly see the point of having it in a draft in the workspace, and then you publish the workspace and it's still in draft. It sounds like you didn't need it in the workspace. So what I've been saying is it should be published in the workspace, and when the workspace gets published, it becomes published in the live website.
Okay, yeah, makes sense. All right.
I'm also trying to figure out like what's one less obstacle we have to think about that I can't see this page. Oh, that one's in a draft workspace inside a sub workspace inside a piece of content. So there's less kind of head scratching when we click the publish button.
Yeah, keeping it simple. Okay, yeah, makes sense. Right, cheers.
Are there any, sorry, question for me. Are there any circumstances where you'd have it in draft in the workspace? Because otherwise, you could maybe remove the option to have it as draft, right?
No, probably is depending on your workflows, Tim. Like you might have a junior content designer who's only allowed to create things in draft and not allowed to set them to published. And then you might have a senior content designer has to verify it, or a head of department that decides this section is okay. So I can understand that, but in terms of removing as many barriers as possible, I that's kind of where I'm starting off from, let's say.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Sam, you've got another question.
Sorry, yeah, full of questions.
No, don't apologize. Go for it. That's why we're here.
It was just following what Fares was asking about. If you're moving stuff to a workspace, does it matter what state it's in? Like if it's an unpublished page, does that matter? If it's a published page, if it's a draft, can you just move it all across to the workspace the same way, whatever the status?
I haven't checked, but I don't see why not.
Okay.
Do you know Drupal has the revision system, so if you change something, you can click on the revisions and revert back to a previous revision and things like that. Well, that's how Workspaces works. It's as simple as that. What it does is when you create a piece of content in a workspace, it just gets a new revision ID. And then when you click publish the workspace, it just checks what was the revision ID of that and will slot that into the revisions table. Without understanding all the back end, let's say it's only kind of an enhanced version or a UI on top of revisions.
Okay.
Thanks, Sam. We've got another question from Nicole. Do you want to ask it, Nicole, or do you want me to read it out?
I can just ask it. I actually think I know the answer to this, but once we activate the module, it will take effect across all the existing workspaces, right? It doesn't just apply to the new ones we create from that point on.
You think you know the answer, Nicole? What's the answer?
I think the answer is yes. It should immediately affect all the current ones.
Yeah, it's just a different way of displaying the workspace UI. It's not actually doing anything functional, let's say.
Yeah. Okay. Great.